Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
My wife danced with her ex at our wedding. Our friendship dates back to our childhood, and my wife and I are inseparable. We're both 23 years old at the time of writing this. She was in a relationship with her ex-boyfriend from the time she was 15 years old until she was 21 years old. They had to stop their relationship because of geographical and time constraints, but she was the one who initiated the unpleasant breakup. They are now good friends, and they sometimes pay each other visits. We'd even go on a double date with him and his new girlfriend if the situation called for it. It seemed from all reports that they were merely friends, who were completely platonic and cordial. Anyway, we tied the knot a month ago today. There were my wife's ex-husband and his new girlfriend in attendance. The fact that I had invited my ex-girlfriend, with whom I had a child, showed that I was entirely comfortable with the situation. Everything went as normal, and my wife and I made our way around the reception area, greeting everyone we came across. As we drove by, her ex-boyfriend seemed to be practically distraught, which I thought was strange. When he first saw her, he had a peculiar look on his face. It was immediately apparent to me that he still had feelings for her. However, I was soothed by the fact that my wife no longer had feelings for him, and the night continued. Today, I got a Facebook message from a woman who identified herself as my wife's ex-girlfriend, boyfriends according to the message. She said that she had learned about the dance and that she wanted to separate with him since he still had feelings for my spouse. In response to my question regarding which dance she was talking about, she indicated that he had confessed to slow dancing with her outside the reception site during the reception. I was inside, speaking with people, and I'm very sure I didn't see that my wife was getting ready to go. When the couple departed the wedding, the girl claimed she saw them slow dancing and that this led to them getting into a major argument. He has just recently revealed to her that he still has feelings for my wife, and the two of them have decided to divorce. You and I are only supporting characters in their love story, she continued, which I found irritating. They were supposed to be together, and one day, in some form or another, they'll find themselves back together again in some capacity. I just wanted to give you a heads up before you were hurt. I thought she was being overdramatic. When I subsequently confronted my wife about this discovery, she first claimed that she had danced with her ex-husband at our wedding. After a while, when I explained how I found out, she finally confessed it. She said that she had forgotten about the incident and that it was no big deal. Asked if she still had feelings for him, she said, "Why do you even have to ask?" She replied, laughing. She never responded to me in a straightforward manner. Whether I'm making a big deal out of nothing is something I'm debating right now. That my wife danced intimately with her ex-boyfriend, who has been a huge part of her life for many years and is still in love with her, was the only thing that bothered me about the situation. And she first denied that anything had ever happened. Any recommendations would be much appreciated. Story 2. Ex slept with his coworker and 6 months later I'm still at a loss for words. I need to get over my ex on my own, without the assistance of others. I don't know where to begin. We had been dating for 3.5 years when he came home one day in January and informed me that a mutual of ours had applied for his job, which pleased me since I knew her from a previous employment. He worked at a bagel store with my mother, and I knew she'd be okay since we used to work at Panera together. Anyway, I talked her up and was really anxious for her to assist my mother, ex-husband, and their employees. I assumed she was a true friend and did not hesitate. She added him on Facebook after a few weeks of working together. I didn't think anything of it, and he informed me immediately after that she had added him, and we both simply didn't bring it up again. After a few evenings, we're both watching television. He adds that she sent him a hello message on Messenger. We both laughed and wondered what she was up to. Remember, he was always informing me on everything, so he messaged her back a hello. After a few hours, she writes a whole essay on how much she likes him and has always liked them, even when we worked at Panera a few years ago. Let's just say I wasn't taken aback. This is, I suppose, my own fault. I was constantly envious, and I became so overwhelmed that I messaged her on my own account. I told him it was a bad idea to attempt to speak to him knowing our history and how long we'd been together. She apologized, saying she was drinking and hadn't thought about it, and I told her it was okay. My ex-boyfriend at the time said that he did not answer. I requested him the following day to delete her from his Facebook page, and we'll leave it at that. We both headed to work, but I got there later than he did. He'd get off at 3 p.m., and I'd get off at 5 p.m. My work is really relaxed, therefore I spent a lot of time on my phone. When 3 o'clock rolled around, I observed that both she and him were connected onto Facebook at the same moment. I updated his profile 15 minutes later, and she had been removed. I assumed it was finished and done with. I was sorely mistaken. So, for a while, everything was back to normal. But my anxiety/depression got the better of me one night. We were drinking hard that night, as usual, and having a good time playing video games. We walked outside for a cigarette break, and I told him I was worried about this girl. I told him that all I could envision in my thoughts was him going over to her house after they got off and sleeping with her. He broke down and began weeping, saying he would never think of messing me up that badly again. I've been working my tail off since I was 16. I have a full-time job, am a full-time college student, majoring in public health, and have had my own vehicle for years. Meanwhile, this girl only has 2 DUIs and is just scraping by. My ex was usually the one who brought up marriage first and foremost, so when he was unhappy, he was extremely upset. He assured me that if we ever split up, he would be devastated and would do everything in the world to make things right. I really believed him and was pleased to finally be able to relax. Valentine's Day was approaching, so he booked reservations at our favorite restaurant and purchased a large teddy bear for me. When Valentine's Day rolled around, I felt like everything was going wrong. Our waitress didn't seem to want to be there. The feelings were simply weird. We returned home, snuggled, and watched a movie. We hadn't had in a while, so I was anticipating a little something, but nothing occurred. I didn't mind at all. It truly doesn't matter when you've been with someone for so long. Another couple of days pass, and my ex is still acting strangely. He remained up late and missed class, and I informed him that skipping class was unacceptable. He already did it twice and it was only the first month and half of school. He stated he needed to speak to me because I was too much for him. He said he hadn't felt us in months, despite the fact that this idiot had just grieved over our breakup a few days prior, and was behaving like a completely different person. I became depressed and contacted a buddy, and we went to the beach so I could have some distance after the conversation. We didn't break up, but I needed to get away as soon as possible. I returned home an hour or so later, eager to solve our difficulties. He took his keys and said that he was heading to the bar. I wanted to accompany him in the hopes that a few drinks would help us converse better. He told me he didn't want to go and that he preferred to travel alone. As a result, I remained at home and wept until 2 a.m. He threw the door, clearly inebriated. He drove, by the way, and slept on the sofa. The following morning, I asked him what was going on and told him that if he wanted to be single, he could simply tell me instead of ignoring me. When he said that he wanted to be single, I called it quits right then and there. I contacted my closest friend and asked her to come help me pack. We lived in a 2-bedroom townhouse with 2 dogs. I requested him to leave while she was there so I could speak with her. He walks away, and that's the end of it. She came over and helped a little while listening to my complaint. Then I receive a text from him. He messages me at least 5 times claiming he can't lose me and that he doesn't know what's wrong with his mind. His family has a history of bipolar. I urge him to come back as soon as possible and we'll make things right. He was my life's love, and I would have done anything for him. So my buddy drove home and quickly me into his arms and wept. He kissed me and apologized, saying how sorry he was and how desperately he wanted things to return to normal. I had no idea what he meant by that. He motions for me to lie in his arms on the sofa, and we begin watching a television. After 30 minutes, he gets up and goes to the restroom. He was in there for a long, but I didn't think much of it until I got a text. The colleague tells me everything. He slept with her 3 times in the 2 weeks since things began. When he went to the bar, he merely got drunk with her, slept with her and drove home. I was taken aback. I rushed into the bathroom and slammed the door shut, yelling that he was a cheater. He comes out looking depressed and saying he never intended for it to reach that far. BS. He said he'd have his phone turned off or give me his phone every time I went for work, and I thought about it for a second. But then I glanced out into the backyard, and I believe God gave me a message saying, "No, you must stop it." So I told him to go and that I'd be moving out in 2 weeks. He immediately rushed back to her and lied about it again. He texted me out of the blue saying he is going to stay with a friend till I move out to give me space. But, no, I quickly discovered that he was still with her. I moved out, and he moved the girl into our home. She advertised her apartment for a sublet online, and another month goes by, and it's revealed on Facebook that they are now in a relationship. It had been 6 months after the split. I think about it a lot, but I'm getting better. I go to therapy, get all A's, go summer school to graduate sooner, and paid cash for a new automobile. I'm venturing out on my own. I've tried dating again, but I simply can't seem to fall for anybody else without thinking about my ex the whole time. I'm mending on my own, regardless of how long it takes. I only hope that one day I will wake up and not think about him, and that I will be able to regain my tranquility. If you've made it this far, thank you for reading.